Welcome everybody joining. We'll get started here in just a little bit. Hi there, Megan. Welcome.
Hi, Jacob. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. We're doing a bit of a sound check here on our Facebook Live stream, and we will get started here very shortly.
Sounds good.
Now, where are y'all today? Are you out in Raleigh, and how's the weather?
Yeah, I am in Raleigh in our we have a new office in kind of Southeast Raleigh, right across the street. I'm actually looking at the Southeast YMCA. So our local Raleigh team that serves Wake and Johnston counties are here along with the Innovation Lab. And Helen sits over at our administrative office, a little bit south of downtown.
Yes,
Oh,
I am.
excellent.
Yeah, I'm also in Raleigh. I'm actually working from home today, but yeah, I work in our administrative office. And to answer your question about the weather, it is actually nice today in Raleigh. It's been quite rainy recently, so I'm excited for some sun.
About to say we've seen some a few weeks of rainfall here in Wilkes County, and yeah, it's nice to see the sun again.
Mhm.
Well, we'll get started here in just a few minutes, and I did want to say thank you all for joining us today, and looking forward to your presentation. Um, yeah, what we've been doing here leading up to this, we've got a few different job fairs that are coming to the Wilkes County NCWorks Career Center here in the next few weeks. September 10th is our big community-wide job fair. We end up having like 10 to 12 employers in there, and also some resources, Renew NC, State Medicaid, Truist Bank comes out, a few different things that way. We've, of course, had legal aid expungement clinics in the past here during those job fairs. Legal aid resources have been great in terms of coming out and visiting us for that. Additionally, Wilkes Recovery Revolution is holding a hiring event here at the center Thursday of next week from 10 to 2. We might do this live stream process again to just kind of get some folks that might be remote. So, you're helping us probably more than we're helping you in some ways, because we get to kind of work out the bugs in this and coordinate all of these different things. But behind the scenes, I've got Center Manager Brian Lane uh, attending both the webinar and the live stream on Facebook. So he's going to be able to help us with Q&A questions and things like that. But it looks like we are coming up on the top of the hour in about 20 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share here. Bring us all into one place. Now, you all will be the presenters for this meeting. But eh, before we get going, we do have a couple of preliminary things that we have to get out there. So, first and foremost, hi everyone, welcome. Folks will be joining, I'm sure, as we go. And then, of course, we've got folks that are probably joining on Facebook Live. Um, my name is Jacob Starks. I'm here at NCWorks Career Center in Wilkes for this webinar with Legal Aid NC today about AI and innovation and some of the progress that they've made in that. Before we begin, I do need to let you know the session's being recorded, and we will probably share it on a few different social media outlets just to make sure that folks get the information. By staying in the session, you're basically consenting to be a part of that recording. We've asked folks to keep their microphones muted during the presentation, unless in the Q&A time we ask you to speak and you come off of mute. This helps us minimize background noise. And also feel free, if you look at the top of your Teams browser, you'll see a Q&A. Feel free to drop in questions at any time. We'll either pause and answer them right there and then if it works out. And if not, we'll get to them at the end. There will be a few points where audiences asked for feedback. So, feel free to chime in then. If you have technical difficulties, once we get into this, it's real difficult to, stop and address. So our advice is, just log out, log back in, see if that works. And if not, we'll make the recording available to you afterwards if you just send me an email. Also, basically, any of the information that we present today is basically our participants' information and opinions. It is not, the expressed viewpoint or opinion of the state of North Carolina, not the High Country Workforce Development Board, NCWorks, none of that. At NCWorks, the reason that we're doing this today, we see a lot of folks that have difficulty navigating transitions, whether it's career, skills, connecting with opportunities, dealing with legal matters. We see a lot of that. And, with career success, with life success, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. We like to bring in, all of our partners to work together towards common solutions. And when there's challenges, say housing, family, finances, legal barriers, things like that, a lot of times this shapes how or whether a person even starts whatever journey that they're seeking. So that's why today's presentation matters. People don't always know where to start when looking for career, job, legal matter. This is a great place to start. And we have two guests with us today, basically our starting lineup. Legal Aid of North Carolina. They're a statewide nonprofit law firm that provides free legal services in civil matters to low-income people in order to ensure equal access to justice and to remove legal barriers to economic opportunity. With me, joining from them, I have Helen Hedrick, who is Chief Communications Officer. Welcome, Helen. And I have Megan Hennings, who is Program Manager and Attorney of Innovation Lab. And I appreciate having both of you today. I'm pretty much going to turn it over to you now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jacob. It's so great to be here, and we thank you and the rest of NCWorks, Wilkes County, for having us. It's funny that this even idea to do this webinar came about from AI itself, because y'all had this awesome ChatGPT resource guide that our intern who was out with our expunction team in the Lance Mobile saw there in person in your office, and was very excited and came back to me with it. So glad we could get that conversation started and do this webinar today. So I'm Megan, like Jacob said. Helen's here with me as well. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to tell you a little bit about Legal Aid of North Carolina in general. So you know what we do if you haven't heard of us yet, but also so you can kind of see the scale of some of the problems that we're trying to solve. It would be pretty much impossible for us to be able to provide a one-on-one lawyer for everyone that needs one in our state, who a private lawyer isn't accessible to through free legal services. So we're trying to think of how we use technology, how we use innovative thinking to meet that demand and try to bridge the justice gap. And so everyone has access to legal information, advice, representation, and services as much as possible. So we'll discuss how we approach integrating innovation and AI into some of our work. We'll demo a couple of our tools that are out there and things that are coming, so you can see some specific examples of what that looks like, of how we're trying to improve client services. And then lastly, how you could partner with us or help folks use these tools that we have. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen here, and we'll get into it.
All right. Hi, everyone. As Jacob and Megan mentioned, my name is Helen Hobson. I am the Chief Communications Officer at Legal Aid of North Carolina. I'm going to start off just by telling you a little bit about who we are and what we do and why our work matters. So, as Jacob said, we are a statewide nonprofit law firm. We are actually the largest nonprofit law firm. Sorry, that's a tongue twister in North Carolina. We serve all 100 counties, and we have over 25 offices. We have base offices, and we also have satellite offices, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, basically, our work is to create pathways for people who can't afford attorneys, and we help with civil legal issues. So that means non-criminal. So our biggest practice areas are domestic violence, housing, public benefits, and disaster relief. You can go to the next slide, Megan. So I want to tell you a little bit about our staff. As I mentioned, we are the largest nonprofit law firm in North Carolina. We are also the third largest law firm just in general in North Carolina. We have about 230 attorneys and over 400 staff. And it's important to note that we have 162 staff members in rural areas. A lot of our services are geared towards rural areas where there are legal deserts. So this means that there are not enough attorneys to meet the need. Here you can see our impact map from last year. Every red dot on this map shows someone that we helped. So last year we handled over 25,000 cases, and we hit every single county in North Carolina. As I mentioned, we have 24, 25 offices, depending on how you look at it. And we also have our satellite offices. These range from mountains to coast, and we serve every single county. So this is a list, and you can see what counties are served by our offices. If you go to our website, legalaidnc.org/offices, you can learn more about our offices. You can see who the managing attorneys are for that offices, what counties they serve, and get the local numbers for those offices. And here are some of our stats from last year. So I'll just run through these with you really quickly. So like I said, we handled over 25,000 cases last year. We served over 30,000 children. So a lot of our cases benefits the whole family. So we like to look at it as a unit. So if we're helping a parent, that also affects the child, like in a custody issue or domestic violence case, that sort of thing. We served roughly 70,000 people. And I do want to note that these numbers do not include our healthcare projects, which include our Navigator and our Ombudsman project. They do work with getting people signed up for affordable healthcare, answering questions about healthcare, that sort of thing. One common misconception about the work we do is that we only help unemployed people. That is not true. And lawyers are very expensive for anybody. The average rate is about $300 an hour. And that's a lot for anybody. So 53% of the people that we serve are employed, do have income, and still cannot afford an attorney. And lastly, we served roughly 5,000 seniors last year. At the bottom, you can see some of the economic benefits of our work. So using that $300 an hour number, we calculated that we provided about $50 million in legal services last year. We saved about $25 million in home value. So this meaning like we stopped houses getting foreclosed on, we helped people fight unlawful evictions, that sort of thing. And the amount of money we saved our clients in debt relief, public benefits, and other avoided costs was about $11 million.
Yeah, so within our organization, we launched something which we call the Innovation Lab. It is a hub within legal aid for where we create all of these solutions. We brainstorm, we think kind of organization wide, what issues there are, what challenges are we facing internally, what challenges are our clients facing to accessing our services or materials, and how can we have new ideas and new approaches to all of those challenges. So within the lab, we identify and test and deploy these creative solutions. And we partner with other legal aid organizations, with academic institutions, tech companies, community organizations, and partner agencies like NCWorks to try to see what the need is and further identify that and how can we help bridge that gap. And so I'm going to talk through just a couple of ways that we have AI integrated in our organization or working on ways to integrate. So some of the things that are public facing tools, meaning they're kind of like a part of our interactions with clients. The major one being our legal information assistant, our chatbot that's on our website. And I'll hold off on explaining that because you'll hear more from Helen about that in a demo here in a minute. We're also working on the early stages of developing an AI-powered voice assistant for intake as well. We get lots and lots of calls, and it's very hard to have the human power to be able to answer all of those. And a lot of kind of what we need as a law firm is just information at the beginning to be able to assess some basic information if someone's eligible for our services and if it's a type of issue that we can help with. We're also getting ready to launch a new client portal called the Justice Hub. I'll talk about that more in a second as well. And we're thinking about how we can integrate AI to that. And lastly, we recently transitioned our phone system over to DialPad, and it has quite a few AI components to it that are really helping us internally increase our efficiency and ability to serve more folks. So the AI-powered features such as the real-time transcription and summaries and analysis really help our staff on the back end save time from having to then write notes or enter something into our case management system when it's collected already. And then some other internal integrations of AI are ways that one, we're trying to get more folks to be able to get into the door through into legal aid through some of these tools, but then also increase our capacity and efficiency to be able to work smarter and faster and more strategically to try to serve as many people as possible. So we're partnering with one organization called Everlaw for Good, and it is a kind of cool new tech in some AI parts of it, litigation tool, especially in the realm of discovery. So that can be, for folks who don't know, discovery is kind of all of the documents that you kind of collect before leading up to trial. It can be a lot to really sort through and analyze. And so there's some really cool tools like Everlaw has to be able to do that. And we're piloting with them to explore how like a nonprofit organization like ours could use them. Additionally, Lexis Protege is AI-powered legal research. So being able to use that kind of as a first stop to get to the body of law, some cases can help draft memos. Obviously, all would be checked afterwards, and I'll get into our AI governance in a second, but just kind of speeds up the process at the beginning, and so we can get to research and writing quicker. Additionally, we've started using ChatGPT internally as well, just with a small group within Legal Aid, the lab, and some folks on our development team, some of the non-legal work to help us be faster and more efficient in our work. And then we're also looking at upgrades to our case management system, which is called Legal Server, to let us triage cases, update, kind of work through our work in a more effective manner. So AI some people are very excited, some people are a little scared, some people are in between, and we totally get it. And it's, especially as an organization, it's in nonprofit or in the legal space, it's very new. It's evolving every day. And so how do we go about even integrating some of the tools and assessing? And so AI governance has been a big part of and thinking about how we even approach all of this is a big part of innovating as well. So some of the key elements that we consider part of our AI governance are an AI review committee made up of internally of staff that reviews and evaluates AI tools for risk, value, do they fit within our mission. Additionally, the lab itself has an advisory board of some experts in the field of law and tech and AI. And our board for Legal Aid of North Carolina as the larger organization is involved with that as well. We also think of the ethics and the risk evaluation around these tools. And so involving folks like our legal counsel, IT, to review contracts, AI tools, pulling in outside resources, like I said, like the advisory council, or maybe a law firm pro bono partner that has really strong expertise in some of these new emerging technologies. And lastly, but not least, making sure everything fits within a cybersecurity framework, right? And building clear protocols and disclaimers for all of our uses of AI, both internally and externally to the public. So all of this kind of wraps into some key principles that we use to guide us. One being transparency and what we're using, the human oversight being a very critical step in all of this, accessibility and equity. Really, how can we use these tools to scale our impact and outreach, especially to rural areas or areas that it's harder to get in contact with legal services. And lastly, because we are a law firm, making sure there's no unauthorized practice of law going on. And so you'll see that specifically with how Leah was developed, our chatbot, but to make sure that she is not providing legal advice or analyzing, keeping it purely to informational standards. And so with that, let's jump into Leah, because I think that's a good example of a lot of these things, and is one of our coolest tools. So I start with this intro video.
Hi, my name is Leah. I was created by Legal Aid of North Carolina as an AI-powered virtual assistant. Developed in Legal Aid's Innovation Lab in collaboration with LawDroid, I am designed to provide efficient and high-quality legal information to underserved communities. I do not provide legal advice, but I can give you helpful information and resources. Let's see how this actually works. You can start with the suggestions in the blue tabs or type your answer in the chat box, such as, "What are my rights as a tenant?" Be clear and specific. The more details you give, the better I can help. Here are some search results. If you are a victim of domestic violence, there are key points listed at the top. Additional resources include links to self-help and links to clinics at Legal Aid. Follow the prompts. If I ask for more information, just answer to get the best help. Come try me out on our website at legalaidnc.org. I am here to help you find information and resources.
All right, and I'll pass it over to you, Helen, to tell us more about this whole project.
All right, so that was a little sneak peek of Leah. That's what we call her. We gave her a name, but it is Legal Information Assistant is what it stands for. So we came up with the idea for Leah because, as Megan has mentioned, I think we get over like 300,000 calls a year to our helpline, and we simply cannot meet the need for that demand. So we are thinking, how can we kind of bridge that gap? A lot of people coming to us, they don't actually need an attorney to represent them. They only need some questions answered. And that's one of our service models, is just providing answers to our clients' questions. So here comes Leah. Leah can answer any question, well, most questions about the work that we do. So she can answer questions about domestic violence, disaster relief, housing, public benefits, our general work, that sort of thing. And this really has helped us, as we see it, serve more people, because they are getting quick answers to the questions they need instead of waiting on hold. So that's how Leah came to be. And now I will talk a little bit about how her impact and how we made her. So Leah is available 24/7 on our website. You just go to legalaidnc.org and you can find her in the bottom right corner. She is easy and accessible. As I said, she answers questions of housing, disaster relief, such and such. And this isn't mentioned on here, but she actually can speak multiple languages. So if you are a Spanish speaker, you can also ask her questions in Spanish. So since Leah's launch, she has had over 50,000 conversations. And for reference, she's been on our website for a little over a year now. So in a little over a year, she's had over 50,000 conversations with people. She averages 3,500 monthly users. The top areas of need are housing and domestic violence. And yeah, she's very efficient and helps us get more work done behind the scenes so the attorneys can handle cases. So this is how Leah was created. So if you go to our website, you go to our Get Help section, you can look and we have hundreds and hundreds of resources. And legal information is already really confusing. So if you go to our website and you're like, I don't even know what I need help with, how do I find that information? So on and so forth, we wanted to make that easier. So what we did with Leah is we took every single resource on our website. I skimmed through it, read through it, made sure everything was okay, verified with the attorneys that no information needed to be updated. And then we transformed it all to a 4th or 5th grade reading level. That's what we try to keep all our resources at. So no matter who you are, what your education level, you can understand the legal information provided. And as I said, legal jargon is already very confusing. I am not a lawyer, so putting it at a 4th or 5th grade reading level is very helpful. So what we do is we take those resources that we've put in sort of like question and answer layout in like a Word doc or a PDF, and we just upload it to the backend of Leah, which is powered by LawDroid, who we partnered with on this project. It is important to note that Leah does not pull from anywhere else other than the resources we have given her. If you look at like ChatGPT, it'll go anywhere and pull information and bring it together to try to give you the answer. We didn't want Leah to have hallucinations. So Leah can only answer questions based on the information we give her. She cannot make up information. We wanted to make sure like she was very accurate and gave people the information they needed. So I'm going to do a little, oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll stop sharing my screen so you can do a live demo. And I see
Yeah.
Jacob put the link to our website in the chat. So if you wanted to do it alongside yourself or watch Helen, and I'll also include some more information about Leah here if you wanted to read more detail about the development process.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen and show you, first of all, where Leah is. So you are now looking at our website. And if you go right here, you can see her in the bottom right corner. So you just click on her. And as Megan mentioned, we want to make sure that the people using Leah understand that Leah is not here to give you advice. She can only answer questions. So there are a few little prompts you have to go through to just make sure you understand that. So I'm just going to go and click through those. And then you'll see it starts off by giving suggested questions. So let's just start off by seeing what happens if I click one of these suggested questions. So let's say someone is experiencing a domestic violence issue. They want to get a restraining order. Click that. I will say, since Leah only pulls from the resources we give her, she does take a little longer than typical chatbots. It's about 20 seconds for her to answer a question, but that's just because she's looking through every single document we've uploaded to find the accurate information. So we'll take some time while she loads, but in the meantime, oh, well, there she loads. So you can see here, she's writing down all the information. I'll let her fully load before I go through it. So you can see she tells you how to file a complaint, what the initial process is, what it's like to attend the hearing. A lot of our clients are super nervous about going to court, so we always try to ease their mind. And then it gives you links to other helpful like resources. So you can find our domestic violence page here on our website if you want to read more. We also have clinics on specific topics. So if you click that, it'll show up our upcoming clinics. And then it gives you potential follow-up questions. At this time, I would like to invite anyone who would like to test out a question to drop it in the Q&A. Please remember that she only answers civil legal questions, to try to focus on something like domestic violence, housing, disaster relief, so on and so forth. So if anyone has a question they want to try out, feel free to put it in the Q&A.
And while you're generating your questions, I want to point out too, since this is just available on our website, anyone can use it. And so someone doesn't have to qualify for our services. It's general, it's open to the public. We know a lot of folks in our communities in North Carolina might be right above that threshold for qualifying for some free services, but they're still not going to meet that bar, as Helen mentioned earlier, how expensive a private attorney could be. But really just need some basic legal information to point them in the right way. So I think this is a great example of that, as well as being proactive. You know, someone might not have might not need to go to court yet, or for the first question that we used, maybe someone is just in that situation and they haven't even filed yet, but are just kind of wondering what are the options out there. And so it's not at a point where they need an attorney yet, but they do kind of need some guidance and some information and education to get started potentially on a legal process.
Absolutely.
And the prompt questions that appeared at the beginning and then after each question, this went through several iterations to kind of refine and develop, and testing, and out in the community to see what folks were interested in, having our attorneys test it, law students test it for accuracy. And part of it was folks were kind of unsure, you know, what do I even ask it, or how do I phrase my question, or what do I say? And so that was one of the direct feedback from testing that came. So we added these prompts to kind of help someone get started and even think of what the follow-up question might be, because we know legal information can be so confusing. To know what to even ask is sometimes part of the challenge.
Exactly. Thank you, Megan. So it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. So I'm just gonna, oh, here we go. We just got a question. My employer is not paying all of my, wait, how do I see that? Can we pull it up? Ready to go. Okay, my employer is not paying all of my overtime wages. What should I do? So I'm just going to copy and paste that into Leah, and we'll see what she comes up with. And another thing to know is we're constantly collecting feedback from Leah. So when you click I'm done asking questions, it gives you an option to do a star rating and also provide feedback. So for this question, we actually don't do specific work around overtime wages, so it's not on our website, but we have her that even if she doesn't know the question, she still gives you, like, directs you to where you should go. So she is saying contact North Carolina's Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Bureau, speak with an employment law attorney. She can still contact us after this. She just doesn't have the exact information on that. So let me do another question. So right now it's hurricane season and we're still helping out a lot of people who were impacted by Helene last year. So let's ask a question about hurricanes. So how do I apply for FEMA benefits after a disaster?
Yeah, and then even though it didn't maybe directly answer your question, Brian, the tool still does what we wanted it to do, and that we don't want it to pull from some random website somewhere and give you some kind of answer that might not be accurate, or try to venture out on its own and answer a question that it really doesn't have the knowledge base to do.
So here you can see information about how to apply for FEMA benefits. This is one of our most asked questions after a disaster. So it'll give you who to call, where to go. It also gives you like specific questions that might be asked and how to respond to them. That sort of thing. Some costs you can expect. And then, as I mentioned before, it'll give you like further information to look for. Oh, we have another question. Let's try this one. So I need help with an elderly parent's SSI in a long-term care facility. So let's put that in there. And one thing to also note is Leah gets faster like day by day. I think when we first started off, it took her like 2 minutes to answer a question, but as she learns and gets to know the information more, she gets quicker and quicker. So that once again, it doesn't have the specific information, but it talks about both federal benefits and state regulations, and it gives you guidance on who to contact about those matters. So that's our demo. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Thank you guys for participating. And Megan, I will let you share your screen again.
Alrighty. Okay, so now I'm going to shift to talking about our Justice Hub, which is coming this fall. It's a brand new way to apply for our services online, but also to be like a one-stop shop for someone seeking legal assistance. And you'll see where Leah is built in as well. And so, but I want to take a step back before I tell you what it does to tell you about the problem that we were trying to solve with it. Because our whole innovation process is really narrowing in on the problem, design thinking, iterating, testing, before we even get to something that's ready to launch for the public. And even then, we're still taking feedback and still making tweaks, and maintaining these tools as they're out there, such as Leah. So the part of the problem we're solving, and Helen mentioned this earlier, is just the volume of calls that we get is really a lot. And so for a snapshot in March 2024, when a bulk of this project started, we got a little over 23,000 calls that month. And sometimes that would be folks that would make it, all the way through and they get assigned to an attorney. It might be folks that would just need some basic information, like Leah could provide, or it might be folks that were in the wrong place. They were looking for a public defender, maybe they have a criminal case, and it's confusing because we think we're legal aid of North Carolina and just hear legal and that we can do those things. So lots of different reasons for why people might be calling, but that was quite the bottleneck that was created. And we can only have so many people even working as fast as possible answering the phones. It's a huge volume to get through. And so there were gaps in service. I know it makes it frustrating for the public, but also, internally, folks are having to answer these calls and say no if someone was in the wrong place. And that can be frustrating if after you've wait on hold for say like 30 minutes. And we know our client communities are, time is very important when you're living in poverty. And so trying to create a better way for folks to figure out if they qualify for our services and then do the intake process to apply for help with us. And so throughout this whole process, we really centered human design thinking and stakeholder engagement, both internally within our organization, working with our intake team, working with our local offices, our IT team, really all across the organization, but then also our external engagement as well, working with our client counsel, community partners to hear feedback on what's not going well right now, what are ideas for how it could be better, kind of taking all that in and creating a new system around our online intake. And so the main priorities that emerged were improving client services, increasing access to us, and increasing efficiency. So that is how the Justice Hub emerged. Think of it as a portal to legal help. We wanted to simplify the intake process. And so there's things like a pre-screening that are built in so folks can know sooner rather than later, and they give all their information, whether they're in the right spot or not, or where they might need to go elsewhere. And so we're looking at this portal as like a one-stop shop for legal help. There will be this kind of a snapshot from the beginning screen that you'll see in the portal when it launches later in October, to both request for legal help, but then explore legal resources. All of those things that are on our Get Help page right now are brought into the portal, and we're working on updating and enhancing those materials as well. So there's more automated form creation, guided interviews, enhanced help for things like custody, divorce, that we usually don't take on for representation, but have materials for folks to be able to do it themselves, have listen and learn clinics to learn the process. And it is available. It's going to be available 24/7. So someone can log in at any time and access different parts of the portal. And like I said, Leah will be in there as well. So people can go through the website or come here while they're already in applying for help, and start asking questions about their legal issue to get more familiar with it. And so some of the key functions of this, and this is another screenshot here of what the application process will look like, but is pre-screening and off-ramps. And so if someone does have a criminal matter, they're not describing the whole thing and then finding out they're in the wrong place. It'll off-ramp them to the services they need sooner rather than later. Folks will be able to create their profile. And so if they have to come back to us again in the future, that profile would be saved. They don't have to go through all of their demographic information, stuff like that, and can easily update it within the portal. And then the full application. And so this is an example from that module of it, of detailing your legal issue. And so there's some different categories folks can apply under. And we also have a feature that someone can do a voice recording, or they can have a written description of their legal issue. It's all also mobile friendly, so folks can do this from their cell phone at home or in one of our local offices or with a community partner, as well as, of course, desktop friendly. They can also upload their documents right then and there if they have stuff already ready to go and want to send it in, and access those other resources. And then two of our other innovation projects that we're really excited about, and has been out to Wilkes County just recently, was our Second Chance project. And so this is our team within legal aid that helps with criminal record expunction and driver's license restoration. We know that there are these legal barriers that impede folks from gaining employment, housing, benefits, and other things that are really crucial to making sure someone is economically stable and increasing their chance of mobility too. And so the innovative part that we're working on with that is how we can file those petitions in a more efficient way. It's quite a bit of records to look through and then data to enter on specific court forms that could be sped up with some automated processing. So then the attorney's time can be spent, rather than 2-3 hours of hand filling out forms or typing, that could be faster, and they spend the time really with the client navigating the legal issue. So the petition generator project with Second Chance is something that we're really excited about, to try to help as many people as possible who are eligible for those expunctions clear that and get on with gaining employment or housing. We're also excited to be working with this is only in Wilkes now? No, this is statewide. We just recently earlier in the summer, the Lance-Mobile and their Second Chance team came out to Wilkes, so I mentioned that. But we're looking to partner even more closely with NCWorks organizations, because y'all are also triaging, folks on the front line of needing these resources. We're also working on partnering with community colleges. So especially when folks are about to finish up their degree and there might be just, one dismissed charge that's keeping them from employment. They have the education, they've worked really hard to get there. That just being one of example of how we've used both the technical stuff, but and then also the human infrastructure and, the ecosystem of services that are out there to really get folks to where they need to be and holistically work together to do that. And the Lancemobile is also an example of that because as Helen showed the map and the list of all of our offices, we do serve every county throughout the North Carolina, but we have some kind of like key offices that serve multiple counties. And so we try to strategically use our Lancemobile to get the physical space of an office out there to places that we don't have one. And so things like job fairs or community events, our mobile intake unit has it can be 2 offices inside. It's got a printer, a scanner, Wi-Fi capabilities for both our staff and then folks that approach. And so it's really focused on both rural service gaps and disaster relief because it can be deployed with all of these things when that need strikes.
All right. So one thing we're trying to do is we are doing is we're putting together like this community partner network so that we can work together to make things more efficient. And all of these things that we have talked about, including some other things, sort of go hand in hand. So as Megan mentioned, we have Leah. We worked with community partners, first of all, to make Leah to make sure it works for the communities that they serve. And then we're constantly like educating people about Leah, how they can send people her way, that sort of thing. Lancemobile, as we just talked about, Justice Hub is coming soon, so stay tuned for that one. We do trainings, pop-up clinics, we do presentations and workshops. One thing we're doing right now that we're in the process of doing is we're revamping our whole Get Help page to make it easier for clients as well as community partners to work with us. So we're making a whole web page for community partners with resources, a referral form, all sorts of information. And then, of course, we have our printed and digital materials. We're always giving these out to community partners. We have a library project where we give libraries our information. They set up little booths and clients can get help that way as well. So we're trying to just make our work or like our services accessible no matter where you are. That is the idea. Even though we have a lot of offices, we have 24 offices, but we want to make it accessible for everyone in North Carolina. So that's what we're doing with this.
Yeah, so that's the end of our presentation, but we're happy to answer questions, take any feedback, comments that anyone has. And I'll stop sharing so you can see us. Oh, Jacob, you're muted.
Oh my goodness, there we are.
Yeah.
First and foremost, thank you all for presenting. That was very informative and a lot of interesting things going on. Anyone in attendance, anybody on Facebook Live, feel free to either drop your questions in the Q&A or in the chat, as well as the live stream comment feed. I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask a little bit about, the guiding mindset when it comes to using artificial intelligence. I liked what you highlighted, but I was hoping you could maybe expand upon it a little bit more. The whole idea of supporting but not substituting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's incredibly important as these tools almost become something that you could conceivably rely upon and not get correct information. Where in the process do you ideally see like a person supporting themselves versus like where does it become apparent that they need a human being to be working with them?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think our need is so great that we can use these tools and not be replacing, but rather substitute and even expand our reach. And so to me, it's kind of like we're at the point where someone might just need some brief information or education or kind of just like a where to get started point. That is a good use case for AI or other technology. But then as it kind of escalates to and maybe this is just a lawyer brain thinking, but where someone really needs specific advice and analysis of the situation that they're in, like there's key facts, or and also if they're facing some kind of deadline, right? They just got an eviction notice or something that's, they're in the legal process or about to be in the legal process, as well as that kind of really specific and individualized analysis and assistance. I think that kind of gears us more towards needing the human to be involved. And that's not something that we would want, an AI tool to be doing.
Do
And
you,
to add to, oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, go right
I was
ahead.
just going to say, and to add to that, I think what we're working on with the Justice Hub is going to address a lot of these things, because what the Justice Hub is going to be able to do is tell you, like, almost right away if you are eligible for our services, because we do have an income cutoff. And if you aren't, then it's going to direct you to these AI services. So our thoughts is, even if we personally, like an attorney, can't help you with your case, we don't want you to leave without nothing. So we'll send you to our chatbot. We'll send you to these other resources that we have so you can at least walk away with something. We don't want anyone to leave empty-handed.
When you were talking about the legal deserts, does that change the line at all for folks, or do you kind of address that with the Lance Mobile?
Um, I wouldn't say it changes the line with the technology as much. I think it's more of the technology itself. I think it's more of how we deploy the technology, and looking at all the other factors around it. And so like you can build a great tool, and I think this kind of where the Lance Mobile comes in. But like say, we have something like Leah, you need internet access to be able to use that. And that might be something that is just not there. And so maybe we need another piece of infrastructure tool like the Lance Mobile to bring that. So I think it kind of just comes down to the deployment, and because of our more urban areas, we know our client communities it's easier to say get around by public transportation or get to a library or there's more community organizations kind of like there on the ground to help. And so I think while we have the technology, looking at how it's deployed and used and really focusing on what that human ecosystem is, and building relationships and partnerships. And knowing that folks are kind of traveling sometimes far to even get to a resource. And so how we can make it as, one-stop shop possible for us, but then also for their other needs, like they need to work on a resume or practice for an interview, something like that. And so seeing how our community partners, we can have that bilateral, communication and partnership to serve the person as a whole.
I think that one of the things that is really interesting in that map that you showed of all the folks that you've helped across the state is that there are some of those areas where it's a little sparser than others. And of course, the urban centers are going to be served quite a bit. But, regardless of where you find yourself in the state, I do think that there's, for a lot of folks, still some apprehension to using this technology. Maybe folks are reluctant or just, not quite comfortable using AI. How what do you say to that, or how do you help folks past that initial reluctance?
Mhm. Yeah, that's totally fair. And that's where I think that kind of support, not substitute model is very helpful, because it's not like having online intake means that we won't have a helpline anymore. We'll have both. And so folks might be more hesitant or just not able for whatever reason to apply online, then that number is still there to call. But I think just familiarizing folks with these tools, kind of showing examples of what they can do, being transparent in, what is this thing? How was it made? Where is their information going? And I think really giving those examples of how to use it is key.
And then I guess my last question, of course, folks, I'm encouraging questions in the chat or Q&A or online. But there's always the other side of AI feeling, and my question, has it replaced any jobs, or has it actually, improved your jobs? I think that folks do kind of look at it like, is this thing going to replace human beings? And we get into the support not substitute mindset, and I like that because I definitely think that pushes that forward. But I mean, just raw facts. Have you added folks since you've done this, or has it? What's been the impact of adding Leah?
I can answer that one. So no, to answer your question, we have not replaced any jobs with AI. AI cannot do what an attorney can do. But one thing we have worked on is we have worked back and forth with our attorneys to figure out how Leah can actually help them in their jobs as well. So they also find it makes their jobs easier. So for example, they're not on the phone for a quick 5-minute question for someone who actually doesn't need service. They're able to take that time and work on a case that they're handling rather than answering these questions. It also frees up to be quite frank, we have a long hold time on our phone line. So when people start using these AI tools, the phone log gets cleared up a little bit. Attorneys can get to work on their cases. So really, it's not about replacing jobs. It's about making the work better for our attorneys and saving them time so that they can handle what they need to, because they already have so much on their plate.
And if I had to forecast in the future, I would imagine that if they have more time, then they can actually be doing more beneficially towards the
Exactly.
folks that they're helping.
They can help. They
Yeah.
can give better help for sure.
Yeah. And our non-attorney staff as well, whether it's intake or out at the local offices. I was in the Gastonia office before I joined the Innovation Lab. So it's a small team covering Gaston, Cleveland, and Lincoln counties. And our paralegal, she was also receptionist, and she was legal assistant. Our non-attorney staff are also wearing so many hats that something we've been talking with her about, if someone can just kind of sit down there online and do the intake in the office versus, her having to ask the questions and answer, that frees her up to maybe send the subpoena for the domestic violence case that's, happening in next week. And so there's enough need to go around. I would say that, yeah, it hasn't really replaced. It's allow folks to, really all of our staff to, as it said, kind of work at the top of their license or at the top of their skill set. And so in the intake example, instead of answering maybe 10 calls and someone's just over income that would have been off ramped through the online service, they're able to spend 20 minutes with that client that is in, say, subsidized housing and just got the eviction notice and really needs to have their case addressed quickly.
Makes sense. Well, it's looking to me like our chat is clear of questions. There was a comment from Lori after she'd asked about the Wilkes thing. She said thank you, and that was great information, and thank you for the webinar. And yeah, if y'all have anything that you want to close with, go right ahead. Otherwise, I thank you for your time, and this was great. We'll have the full recording up soon, and we will also have little snippets that we put out on social, and we'll be sharing those as well. I see 2 people typing in the chat right now, so I may just talk in
One of
slow,
those
long,
was
drawn-out
me.
words.
I was gonna say the
I
other
just-
one is me.
Yeah, I think we were both just sharing our information. So if anyone has any questions or wants to partner with us or wants to learn more, please reach out to me and Megan. Both of our emails are in the chat. And thank you for having us.
Yes,
Thank you for
thanks
coming.
so much for having us. I hope for members of the public that are out there hearing about these tools can find ways to access us. But then also for community partners and other agencies that are doing fantastic work to serve the public, see how this might weave in or reach out to partner with us further to expand service to as many people as possible.
Okay. One comment just popped up. This is Brian, center manager here in Wilkes, and it said that these are excellent tools and thank you for the presentation and the partnership. I'll echo that, and I'll give you all back your time, but thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing these developments in the future.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.